the coolant bore, and usually these get sintered into the material. And if we now find an edge where we can look a little bit on the structure of the edge, let's see here maybe. Yeah, here you can really see the coating and the way they made the coating. Because you still have, you can still see a little bit of the carbide grain here, and you can see all of the structure below it. And usually what you can do to decide what process they use to coat the tool is to look whether you have an so-called epitaxial growth of the film. So does it grow with the structure below it, or does it form its own structure? It's very good to use to look at an unused part of the tool, so not at the cutting edge, because there it kind of grinds away the structure. But the way this one was created, I would guess this was made by physical vapor deposition, because you kind of see the structure and it's not really rounding down, which also again helps with a sharper tool, but is less sticky than chemical vapor deposition, which is always the two types, physical or chemical. One is basically plasma deposition and the other the ion reaction. And you can also see that, for example, the sintered inside of this one has a much rougher surface than the crowned chip channel of the tool. So this is so they didn't drill, obviously they didn't drill, but they didn't drill this one. So it gets sintered into the carbide plank, and then they start grinding it. Which means they have to align the blank inside the grinding machine so the holes come out at the correct position. I'm always wondering at how good it is, but we don't have a lot of these tools. Yeah, we can take another peek at like one of the top surfaces as good as we can see it here. Usually I have small tool holders where I can put the tools in at an angle, like just like 15 degrees, so you can look a little bit at the top. It ends at 6mm shank diameters, the one I made, so we cannot get this one in. Here.
What is that?
What? Those balls?
Yeah.
Let's take a look. So we can zoom into one of these. I'm just going to slightly focus it. And then we go to our element identification. This spot here. Just the coating. Just the coating. And I would suspect there is not a lot of chromium in it, because this could also be the Bremsstrahlung. There is no chromium reflex back here. So I would say aluminum nitride, and this one, I'd be skeptical whether there is a lot of chromium in it. Yeah. You can also see that like on the top cutting edge, so we are at the top part of the tool right now, and this one should be, let me zoom out far so we can get a better view, but yeah, this is basically the cut.
No, that's the grind before.
That's the grind, the relief. No, this is the relief.
Yeah, the relief, yeah.
And what is interesting here is that on the relief you see everything from the coating has flaked off. And that's probably because the relief angle here is too low. I should have put a slightly larger relief on this one. We go to the...
That's the cutting edge there.
There is the cutting edge, exactly. There you can see that directly next to the cutting edge. This is a very steep angle now, so we cannot get everything into focus. But here you can kind of see that the relief is enough. Nothing flaked off here. Now we are looking against the cutting edge. This is the cutting edge. And again, you can see a massive amount of buildup. So this is just a chip welded to it again. It's 50 microns long. And again, with the elemental analysis to prove that this is kind of chip and not if we get a signal. I'm not quite sure where we're getting a signal. The sensor is on the left side of the device. So everything that reflects to the left side, we can see. For example, on the back side, so here we wouldn't see anything. Here we wouldn't see anything because no signal would reach the sensor. But this is again, I mean, this is mostly iron and carbon. So this is the steel we were milling. Is probably the protective chamfer on this tool. And again, you can see the coating, and you have little specks in between, like for example this one. Is this part of the coating or not? And there's, if you switch for example back to the BSD sensor, you can see it's immediately a different color. In the BSD sensor, light elements, like for example carbon, are very dark, and heavy elements are very light color. So it's not only a topological contrast. And again, if we go to our element identification, we can also do a mapping of what you see here. Basically, you can see this is mostly the iron, and there's very little iron reflexes around it. But if you look at the aluminum nitride, it's very, very easy to see that everything around it is like the coating, and
That's
these are
really
again
cool.
little pieces of the workpiece material welded to the coating.
Really cool. This thing's crazy.
I mean, 13,000 times magnified.
13,000 times. How far will it zoom in?
Zoom in? Oh, well, how far will it? Very, very far. So we could theoretically go to 250,000 times, but you don't see anything there. And realistically, on this device, in these conditions, you can get a decentish picture at something like 15 to 20,000 times. It's probably going to be a little bit better on the top of the tool. Let me quickly.
We should zoom into one of those fungus-looking things from the forest.
Okay.
If there's one we can find.
Yeah. This looks like it has potential.
Wow. That's so crazy.
now a little bit out.
Look at that. And that's the material stuck to the tool.
Yes. You can also yeah, but 20,000 times is pushing it on this device with the sharpness. Very, very good picture you get at like 7,500 times magnification, which is still very good because usually it stops like a light microscope, so optical light. The theoretical resolution stops at 2,000 times. So we are already far.
It almost looks like it's higher here and then drops off a little bit and then sticks again, you know?
Probably does, yes. The coating is not the best on this one.
Yeah. Mitsubishi need to make their coatings better.
Yeah. Doesn't get much sharper than this. It's kind of like let's take a picture at 2,000 times. So this is the theoretical limit of what a light microscope could see if you had like the best in the world. And let's make the picture a little bit brighter and
so cool.
what's pretty cool is that you actually can measure pretty accurately where you are in focus. So if you want to see how big this particle is, well, you zoom into this particle, you focus it, and this is decently accurate. Maybe it's 13.5 instead of 13.7, but it's decently accurate. The downside is your maximum field of view, so now the full screen is like 2.3 millimeters, so you can only ever see a detail at a time. You know, with smaller tools you can see the whole tool. And so if you want something we can just like run here is just like will take about 4 minutes. You can just let it stitch like a large one, then you can zoom in this one.
Wow. And this is this thing.
Yes, looks like a coffee machine. Very expensive coffee machine.
Cool. This is the microscope. This is the power supply.